Gun fam, what's up? It's the Gun Brother. Thank you for tuning in. Today I wanted to give you some ins and outs for a specific part of the Glock firearm, and that is going to be the sights. This is for my newer or lesser experienced owners and shooters. So let's get into it. So today I was doing something I do for some of the contracts I service. If you guys don't know, I am a firearms instructor. I've been training since 2005. At this point, I contract out to other companies and train their security officers. And a lot of times I have to service their firearms and things like that. And what I was doing today was replacing some front sights on some Glock 17 slides. And I figured this would be a good opportunity to just kind of get some information out to my newer shooters. So my super duper gun guys, this one isn't for you. You can ride along. But this is for my newer shooters or newer gun owners as well, because I want you guys, I had a conversation with somebody not too long ago, and they just don't have any confidence with their firearm. They took a class somewhere else, and that they came to me to gain more confidence with their firearm, both on the range and off the range. I think this is a bit of information that should be helpful that I've learned over the years of training my security officers. For the most part, for most of the federal contracts, there's one of two guns. It's either the Glock 17 or the M&P 9, or some derivative, maybe the 40 caliber version, which would be the M&P 40 or the Glock 22 or 23 if they're using the compacts. Focusing on the Glocks first, and for the most part, because I just want the owners to understand it. So let's start with the rear sight. So the rear sight on the Glock is known as a dovetail sight. And what happens is, especially if you know anything about woodworking, there's the notch is carved one way on the slide, and then it's carved the opposite way on the sight, and the sight slides right in. Tolerances are very tight, so it doesn't really just move for no reason. However, a good hit, if you just kind of flop down in the chair and it hits, this is what they take a bit of a beating when the officers wear them every day. If they flop down in the chair on post, or stepping into a booth and the slide bangs up against something, it can move the rear sight. That has to be checked. So my piece of advice for that for you is make sure every day, especially if you're concealed carrying, or even if you're using it for home defense, every day you take it to the range, make sure that rear sight isn't pushed to the left or to the right. And the way you do it is just kind of look at it from the top. The Glock slide has these two shoulders and the dovetail space. You just want to make sure it's even on both sides. As long as it's relatively centered, you'll be shooting an accurate shot that you can hit a target. If it's too far to the left or to the right like this, that's not going to work. And that was an actual officer's gun. And that was something that they put in place a few years ago. What would happen is, we had a set of firearms in the training department. Then the site would have a set of firearms that the officers would actually carry on site. They would sign them in, sign them out every day for duty. And those guns never got shot. FPS implemented a rule saying, hey, you got to shoot the guns that you carried on site. And immediately we were finding broken firing pins, sights that weren't aligned, things like that. So make sure you're checking your firearm every day, that you arm up every time you take it to the range, every time you pack it up, stuff like that. You want to make sure that rear sight is in place. Now, if it's not a very big deal to straighten it. You can do it yourself, or you can have a gunsmith do it. You can have somebody at the gun shop do it. Hopefully, if you have an instructor that you went through, they should be able to do it. And it's just a simple tool. Here's a sight pusher. This one's by MGW, and you just kind of put the slide in, center everything, tighten everything down, crank this until it pushes the sight into the position that you want it in. So pretty simple procedure, nothing expensive or anything like that. Moving on to the front sight. Front sight is what we call a notch sight. So there's a hole in the slide, and the sight sits in it, and then there's a screw right there. And this is the tool that I would use to loosen or tighten that screw. And you just put the sight on, put the screw in, tighten them down. That's it. Again, I'm not advising you to, especially if you don't feel confident or you really just don't know what you're doing. I'm not saying you need to fix your own guns, but I want you to know that if that sight breaks or something happens to it, it is not a big deal. Don't throw the whole gun away. Don't get discouraged. Don't stop shooting. It's a pretty simple fix. Get it done and get your gun right back in service right away. Some people will even keep spare sights and spare parts on hand for that very purpose. So just two simple things. Like I said, it's the nature of the gun. And then speaking back to the M&P is kind of the opposite. The rear sight is a screw down, and then the front sight is a dovetail. So if the front sight gets hit, it can get moved either way. And a universal sight pusher will work on that front sight as well. That's about it for today. Like I said, I just want to throw that information out there for my newer gun owners. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments. I try to get to them as best I can. I enjoy it thoroughly. Please, for all your 2A content creators, like, subscribe, and shoot still. In other words, hit the notification bell. Okay? Hit the notification bell. The platforms try to limit 2A content, especially the positive content, and we want to just keep it coming. So we want to just keep it going. So please hit like, subscribe, notification bell. And with that being said, the Gun Brother is out. I will talk to you guys next time. Protect yourselves.